Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. In this channel, I make a lot of videos on how to create your own website, how to create your own e-commerce or WooCommerce website and start making money online by selling products online. If you're new to this channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button. You can find it at the bottom of the video and just hit subscribe. Please like this video if you like my content, and remember to leave me a comment below. Talk to me, let me know what you like about the videos, what you don't like about the videos, what I can do to improve on these videos. And if you're new to the channel as well, if you go to the description, there is video timestamps available for you if you want to jump ahead to certain sections of the video. If you don't want to watch the entire video, please feel free to utilize those video timestamps and follow us on our social media channels. We've got a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page, and let's start learning. In this video, I'm going to show you how to send emails directly from your Flask applications. So last week we built this app that shows cryptocurrency prices. We used Bootsrap for the styling, and I showed you how to call an API and display data that's from the API. And we are hosting this application, which is a Flask application, on our Ubuntu server, running on Ubuntu 20.04 and the Python 3. Now, a lot of websites have a contact form. And in order to get a contact form, if let's say somebody comes here and they want to get in touch with you, and you want to put a contact form on this email on this website so that people can click on it and get in touch with you, and so you can respond back to them. We are going to add a contact form to this website, but we're going to use Flask Mail to do that, because Flask Mail operates inside of a Flask application, and it's the best way to send emails if you're sending them directly from a Flask application, which is what you will mostly be doing if you are building a website or a web application using Flask and Python. So to get started, we are going to be using a library that is called Flask Mail. So just hop on over to your Internet Explorer and search for Python hosted org Flask Mail, okay? And over here, there's a lot of, all the information that you need to get started, how to install Flask Mail, how to configure the Flask Mail with your email details, and how to initiate it inside of the application, and how to send an email, for example. So we're going to be following this tutorial to get started. So we currently need a mail account, and I'm going to show you how to do this setup with an actual with an actual sort of email account that you would normally have, which you would know your password and your username, okay, not Gmail. So if you have followed with us and you have like a hosting account of your own, you could go over to your dashboard, and under your dashboard you have email accounts, and we want to create a new email account that we're going to be using for our Flask Mail. We currently don't have any accounts on this whatever, so let's create one, okay? So click on create, and let's pick a domain to create an email account with, and let's see what we've got here. We've got a couple of domains here, and I'm going to go with webdesignjohannesburg.com, okay? All right, and then let's call this testing. All right, so your email address will be testing@webdesignjohannesburg.com, and we're going to set a password for it, and let's call this testing password. So this is really, really bad. Don't ever have a password that is called a testing password. All right, and then let's create an account. And so we've got all the information we need to get started, right? Now we're going to work off the same virtual private server that we created the last time, because I'm not building any Python code on my actual computer. But if you're doing it on your actual computer, you could follow the exact same steps on your computer. It doesn't matter whether you're working on Windows or Mac or whatever. You should figure out a similar way of doing the exact same thing. But if you're working on a virtual private server like myself, I've already logged into my private server, and I have activated the env the app, the environment that you're working from. Remember, in the last lecture, I showed you how to load Python onto your virtual environment, and then how to create an application, a virtual environment to work from, because that's where you're going to load all your pip Python packages. You're going to load them into the virtual environment. You're going to run your program directly from the virtual environment. So when you run the pip install, we have to run it from the virtual environment. So let's just copy that and install Python Mail to get started. So pip install Python Mail. All right. So Python Mail is installed. After that, we can now, initialize our app. So if we look at our app code, maybe let me put this in here so that it's easier to work with. Okay. So if we look at our Python code, like if you open nano app.py, this is where our app file is. We can see the code that we've written. Okay, so currently we haven't even imported what we're going to be using. So the first thing that we need is to, from Flask, import a mail. All right, from Flask Mail. So that must be done right at the top there. All right, so from Flask Mail, import mail. And then import Flask, that's already been done because we had to do that in order to initiate our application the first time around. Okay. Then after that, we need to then create, there's two ways of doing it, right? You can either mail is equals to mail.app and initialize it that way, and that's the method I'm going to choose. So after you've initiated the app object, you create a mail object from the mail, from the mail, library that you've just installed. Okay, so let's copy that, initialize this. This is just showing you that there are two different ways to initialize your app. Okay, so I'm going to choose this way because that's what I normally do. All right, so just under the app there, all right, you're just going to initialize the mail as well, the mail object, which app gets from the mail library, and it takes in the app as an argument. Okay, so now we have a mail object to work with. Okay, so they're showing you if you wanted to send messages, you would, first of all, you would need a message object. So this message object must also be imported. All right, so let's just copy that. And from Flask Mail, we need to import message as well. So currently we have imported mail at the top there. All right, and then we also need to import message. Okay, so I'm going to just say comma and import message as well. So we need to import mail and we need to import a message. Okay, and then after we've done that, then we're going to be able to create a message object, which is message hello. You need to say who the sender is and who the recipients are, and or you can do it that way, and then you can send the message across, and then the person should get that email. But before you can do this, you need to set up your config object, so you can configure your all the different things you need to configure inside your Flask application, right? So we haven't done that, and let's do that next. All right. So to initialize or to set the config for the mail, let's have a look at the documentation. So there's things we will need. We will need to set up the mail server that we're working from. Okay, so let's do that. Where are we? Why is it so far away? Let's put it there. Okay, so the mail server, the way we do that, we say app.config. We actually just need it as it is. Okay, so let's copy that. All right, app.config, we paste that in there. And our mail server is, we need to edit as a string object. And because of our our mail is hosted by domains. You just saw me creating the new account, and it's hosted on CP51. So you're gonna need to figure out where is your one hosted. But mine is cp51.domains.co.za. If you're hosting your mail at domain like I am, just have a look at your cPanel. Where you log in, your cPanel will have a CP number. You just use that CP number.domains.co.za. You can also at this stage use mail.yourdomain.co.za. So then the next thing that we need to set up is the port. Okay, and so we're going to do that. We're going to say app mail port. and we're going to close that. And this is a number in integer. Okay, so the default is 25 that they use, and I don't want to use 25. I want to use an SSL connection, so I'm going to use a 465. If you're using domain.co.za for your mail as well, you can just use 465 because it is the SSL port. If you use 25, it is a non-SSL port. And the difference between the SSL and the non-SSL is that SSL has got the certificate, so you can sort of encrypt your email, or it's a safer sort of communication method. And if you use the non-SSL one, is less safe. All right. Then the next one is I use TLS. The default is false. I'm not going to change that. We're going to copy this one, use SSL, and the default is false. We're going to change that to true. All right, so we're going to say that one, we want this to be true. Right. Then the next one is that we need, we're not going to do debug. Then we need to set up our username and password. Okay, so username and password is the one that you would normally use to log into your email address. So we've got to set that up. Okay, and we just say app.config. The mail username. In this case, our username is going to be the one that we just created now. Testing at. Okay, this needs to be in like a string. Okay. Testing at web design. Just make sure you get the spelling correctly. So it is testing at web design-design.johannesburg.com. All right, so that's my username, and then the password, which I just created now. app.config.mail password. Also in string objects, and remember our password was testing password. Testing a password. So this is all the basic config objects that you need to add when you're getting started. You can add these other ones if you want to have a default sender, whatever, but it's not as important. You have to have at minimum your username and password, at minimum your server and your port. But unless if you want to use the default values, and you can leave it. But if you don't want to use the default values, at minimum you need to have the server, the username, and the password. That's the most important thing that you need to have. So once we've done that, let's create a quick mail object to show you how this works. Okay, so I'm going to create a function in here that I'm going to call my mail function. Okay, but instead of typing it up in here, because this is way difficult to type, I'm going to try and type it off my text editor. So let's go in there. All right, so we want to create a function, and this function we're going to call it send test email. All right, and once we've created that function that is called send test email, we need to initiate a couple of things. So let's go through the documentation again. Okay, so if you look at the documentation, the way you need the things that you need to initiate is, the first thing you need to initiate is the message MSG object, or the message object, which has the title, the sender, and the recipients. And the recipients is an array with a couple of email addresses you're sending to. Even if you're sending it to just one email address, you have to put it inside an array and have show that it's only one email address. After you do that, you're going to then enter the body and enter the HTML, and then you're going to send the message. This is just showing you that there are different ways to initiate this object by saying MSG recipients, MSG add recipient, and so forth. But we're not going to do it like that. We're going to put all the recipients as one. So it's going to be MSG is whatever the title, the sender, and the recipients. So you could just copy this as is like that and initiate that MSG object. And I'm going to paste it there so I can type it easily. All right, so our first Python email. Okay, this is going to be the heading of our email, and the sender that we're sending from is obviously our email address. All right, and our email address is this one, testing at webdesign.johannesburg.com. All right, so just make sure you got the spelling right. testing@webdesignjohannesburg.com, and the recipients, I'm going to send this to my Gmail address. All right, and I'm going to send it again to another email address. So I want to have two. I'm going to send it to two different places, so you can do that. And I want to send it as well to my own personal email address. Actually, not admin. Let's send it to Bertha. All right. And then once we've done that, the next thing that we need to do is we need to set the body of the message. And you have two options. You can give it a normal sort of like a string object and an HTML, or at minimum you need to give it a string object. But if you want to write HTML, you can do that as well. What this will do is that the mail will decide whether to send the text version or the HTML version based on the person you're sending it to, because there are some email accounts that have been configured not to accept HTML, and then they will take the body version. But a lot of email accounts, even Gmail, is configured to take the HTML part. It will take that one, okay? So let's just copy that and go in there. And once we've done that, our MSG object, let's decide, all right, msg.body. I don't want to put testing in there. You can actually, with Python, you can use like three, inverted commas, so that you can type better, 1, 2, 3, like that. And then you can, you'll be able to like type like, the way you want it. You can just have like a div element. All right, let's say div element like that. All right, and the div element, okay, the HTML also has to be inside brackets, I think. Let me just double check. Yes, it also needs to be like inside quotation marks. So let's just use the same 3 quotation marks. 1, 2, 3. Yes, that's much better. Okay, and enter that. Mail.send MSG, and then I'm just going to copy all of this function, this whole function. I'm going to paste it inside it was easier to type this there, but I'm going to paste it in here. So I'm going to create a new function at the top there. That is the mail function. So I'm going to paste it in there. All right. So I put this one here. msg.html. That's all right. All right. So you have this function def send mail, and we can call this function inside of a root. Okay. So I'm going to call this inside of the main root. Okay. I'm just gonna call it while it's getting the results, and before it displays the result, I'm just gonna call that function. Okay. Let me not use tab. Let me use 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have to space it 4 times, and then just copy that in the send test mail, paste it in. Okay. Let's remove it from there. Okay. Send test mail there. All right, like that. All right, so basically if I go to my home root, which is the index root, I'm calling this send test mail function. It should it should call it from there, and send me an email. All right, with what I've typed in there. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to test this out. So we are in here. Let's clear everything there. Clear, not double C, and then let's run this python app.py. Because it's a function, we need to include the open close brackets in there like that. All right, so let's save that, and let's try this again. Python app.py. There you go. And then let's go to our web page, and let's just refresh this. Basically, when we refresh this, what will happen is that this will still display. You won't see anything on the front end, because there's nothing we're doing on the front end to display anything. But in the back end, it should actually send us an email, and then we should be able to go and check it in our email account and find that email, right? So let's refresh this and send this. Okay, so there's a server error. Let us see what error is there. Okay, so we're getting a connection error trying to send an email from Python, and I want to take you through my process for solving this problem. Usually, I sort of cut out, this part when I'm editing the video, but this time I specifically decided to leave it in there because, especially if you're going to be a Python coder and you're going to be writing code yourself, your own code from scratch, this is not just building websites. It's now we're talking programming and coding. You're always going to come across these kind of things, and this is a process. If you're having an error, is first of all trying to figure out what is the error message and what is it telling you, and can you Google for solutions or whatever. So the first, the error that we're getting is a connection refused error. Okay, so we are unable to connect to the mail, class to be able to send this message. And let's figure out why. If we trace back, you can see that it starts here where it's trying to connect a mail.port. So it's saying the host is a SM whatever library, and it's trying to connect with the server and the port, and then it's coming back and it's saying that it's failing to connect. Okay, so the first thing is why are we not able to connect? Let's go back to our code and have another look. Okay, so I'm going to say nano app.py. Okay, app.py. Let's open that and let's see. All right, it should be obvious. I don't know why it wasn't obvious to me, but for me, I don't usually type on this directly on the command line. That is why you can miss a lot of things. But if you look at this, you can immediately see what the problem is. You are initiating your mail object, but you haven't set the configurations for it. Okay, so you're initiating before you set the configuration. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut this, all right, or copy this, right, and let's just delete this from down here. Python app.py, and if this is running, let's go back to where we had our server error and run it. All right, so it's taking a bit of time. It's running and we don't have the server error anymore. Okay, now that we've tested that the email gets sent correctly, let's go and create our contact form. So what we want is, if you look at our current website, let's just run it, Python app.py. So if you look at our current website, if you look at our current website, this is the only thing that we have. So we need to create a contact form, and I'm not going to create it here. I'm going to actually create a new HTML form, and I'm going to show you how to do that and link it to this one. So we need to start creating routing, and Python applications are really, like Flask applications are the best when it comes to routing. It's so simple. Let's end this and let's clear this. Okay, so we need a new HTML form. All right, so the new HTML form, we need to create it inside the templates folder. All right, so we're going to cd into templates. All right, now that we're inside the templates folder, you'll see we only have index.html. We're going to create a new HTML file that we can route to this file, and let's just call it nano, let's call it contact.html. All right, so we're going to write our code in here, and let's use like this editor to write the code. So I'm going to go to the HTML and just start creating a basic HTML code. So let's just do HTML. All right, and actually let me copy instead of doing it this way, let me copy the Bootstrap HTML code. All right, so to do that, let's go to a website and let's search for get Bootstrap. All right, and then let us go to get started, and let's copy the HTML, the blank HTML code from Bootstrap. Okay, the one that's here. You can use this everywhere, and it's probably the fastest way to get started. So I'm gonna copy that and paste it in here. So basically, this is just you can't see this. It's terrible. When you paste, it doesn't get the color coding right, so you almost have to like manually get it done. But anyway, so what we want, this is the end of the head. All right, and we're gonna change this from hello world to Skolo. All right, contact. All right, and then inside the our body, there's just currently hello world, and we're gonna change that, and we're gonna have like some spaces because we realized we needed spaces the last time. All right, and then after the spaces, we're gonna type in like a I don't know, like an H1, and this is contact Scholar Online. So this is going to be our contact form. At the beginning, we're going to just have a heading that says contact Scholar Online. We're going to put a bit of a break, and then we're going to include the form. All right. So if you're using the Atom editor like I am, all you need is to start typing in the words form. Okay, and it will pick up that you want a form. Okay, and you just click enter, and it will get you the basic form method. Otherwise, alternatively, you can just do it manually, and you can say form. Okay, form like that. Right? But then you need to remember that for that you need to include the action and the method. All right, so that's why I like to do it like this, so that at least I've got the method and the action. And this form is gonna go, we're gonna create a new route in our application that's called contact. Okay, and this is gonna go into the contact route, and then in here we're gonna have all our form elements in order to continue. So let's go back to our application there, and let's paste what we've copied here. So currently the form is not done yet. All right, it's not done yet. It's just it's a blank page, but we should be able to paste it in here, and we'll be able to see if we can get the form on the front end. Then once we've done that, just close this and save it like that. CD out of there, and let's open actually let's CD back into templates. Right, and let's open this one, index.html. Right, because I want to create now a button with a root over here. So if you look at our website, I want to create a button at the top, somewhere in there, like towards the left, so it looks like a bit of a menu. I want to create a button in here, and that button will say something like contact us, and then that button will then lead us to the contact us page. Okay, so that's what I want to do. So if you look at the top here, the first break, the second break, maybe perhaps somewhere in between the first and the second break, let's do it in there. Okay, and in here I'm just gonna create let's do this. Let's create like a div. All right, a div object, and inside this div object, let us create a let's create this with a class text right. What this will do is that it will put everything that I put in this div towards the right hand of the div. I hope, yeah, text right. And then once we've done that, inside this div, let's create a button. All right, like that. And around the button, let's create a a link. All right, like that. And let's have the ref of this link sending us to the contact page, like that. So we have an A around here. Let's have a closing bracket for the A. All right, and then the button, let's give this button a class. Okay, so in this button, we want this button to say contact us. Right, and then inside this button, let's create a class that says btn. It's a button. So this is a Bootstrap sort of coding. So because I'm using Bootstrap, there's standard ways of representing a button and all those other things. And if you want to know what they are, you can actually go to the Bootstrap website and check them there. So I'm typing it because I already know what it is. But if you didn't, you would come here and say you want to write a button in Bootstrap. Just search for button and go to buttons, and then you will see whatever button you want. Let's say you want this button primary. It's the one here which says button primary, and then the class that you need to use is btn primary. That will give you a button that looks like that. And you can go up here and you can see all the other different buttons. If you wanted a button that's primary but outline, you will see that you have to use that class. So this is where I'm getting what I'm typing from, okay, in case you wanted to reference it, or you wanted a different button. So what I want is button primary, so it must be btn primary, and close in there. All right, so that's the button, and it's a contact us button, and it should reflect on the top right hand of the div, and then it should lead us to the contact page. All right, but before this would work, let's save this and let's cd out of here, and let's nano app.py, and let's create that new root, because the root is not created currently. If you try to go to contact, because you haven't created the root in the application, it's going to send you to the 404 page. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm just going to copy this the way this is. All right, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to try and create a new root that we're going to call. All right, so I want to create some space so you can see what I'm typing. All right, so let's paste that in there. And when you do Flask applications, you cannot have two roots that have the same name. All right, so we call that root contact, so it's /contact. So if somebody goes /contact, it should take them here. All right, and then you currently have used already the function hello. You cannot reuse the function hello, so we're gonna have to type this and call this contact. All right, and in here we're not doing any of that, so let's just remove all of this. All right, and then let's render the template, not the index template. Let's render the contact.html template, which we just created inside of the templates folder. So we're going to call this contact.html, contact, like that. All right, render template contact.html. Let us save this. Yes, and then let's run this. Python app.py. Let's go to our front end. Let's go to our website and let us restart this. We should see the button that we just created now. It should show. There you go. We'll create that contact us button towards the right hand side, and it looks like sort of like a doesn't it look like a bit of a navigation bar? So click the button. Technically, it should take us to the contact page and show the contact.html file. There you go. Contact Scholar Online. Okay, so that's all we have in here. We haven't done anything else. So let us go in here, back in there. Let's stop this. Let's see the templates. All right, let's open up our contact.html. Right, and then we're going to edit this file, but it's going to be hard trying to edit it in here. I'm going to edit it there instead. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is that our form, everything that's inside the body, opening and closing brackets of the body, I'm going to in fact from the form section, let's just take that out. Let's edit a div and a container. What a container does, it just sort of puts everything in the middle, in the center nicely. Okay, so we're going to have the form in there. And then once we have the form, we're going to create, for the contact form, we need, somebody must give us their name, okay? And they must give us their email, and they must type a message. You can have as many other things as you want, but I'm just going to work with that for simplicity. And for a form, you want to have a form group that has a title and an input element, all right? So the first thing that we do is that we have a form group, a div, sorry. We have a div that is, the class is a form group, all right? And then this is, we're gonna put the form elements nicely inside of there. And inside a form group, you need a title, not a title, man, you need a label. And then you need the input, all right? And then you have to specify the type of input. So let's work with the name, okay? The input name is a type text, and then the name is going to be name. Okay, the value, there's no value, but instead of value, let's use, let's say placeholder, okay? And then the placeholder, let's call it enter name, all right? And then I'm going to add something here that says required. Okay, this is just a nice way of saying that to the person that this is required. They must fill it in. If they don't fill it in, the form will automatically remind them that you haven't filled this in. This is a required input. All right, so the label, this label is for name. Right. Okay, then what I like to do to just make this my form look even nicer is I like to I like to sort of have all of this inside like a row, a div row. Okay, so I have a div, another div in here, and I'm gonna call it a row. Then I have another div in here, and I'm gonna call this a column. Or what column LG12 means, and you can go through the Bootstrap documentation as well, the way I showed you, to figure out how to sort of, you know, have columns and rows. That it's a LG12 means it's gonna fill up the whole entirety of the row. All right, so let's paste that in there, and I think that will be much better, right? And then the label here is gonna be you know, full names. Okay, and then the placeholder is enter full names. Full names, right? And then after this, I'm gonna do everything within the same row. All right, so let's go through this, what we've just done here. Okay, so we created a new form. All right, and inside the new form, we have you know, added a row. Okay, so the row opening closes there, and then we have one column. All of them are full length columns. All right, that will fill the entirety of the page. We'll have the full names. Okay, so we need to change this. What is going to be displayed there. So we display the full names, and then this variable here is going to be called a name, and then the label is for name. All right, and then here we need, this is the email, so we need to display the email address. Right. Email address, and type email. So this is, note, this is different type email, different from type text. So it will allow the users to only enter the type that is the email. And then the last one here is also slightly different. We've entered a text area. A text area is going to be like slightly bigger, allowing you to write like a whole paragraph of a message. So this text area input is slightly different from this type of input, and you'll see what it looks like. Okay, and then after this, I've just forgotten to say required here as well, because what is the point of you sending a contact message if you're not going to include the message in there, right? And then the button type, I've used button danger, and then I'm just going to put in the words that must go into the button. It must say submit contact form, right? So let's save this and have a look at our new contact form. So let's cd out of here, and let's python app.py, and let us then go to the front end and have a look at our contact form. If we restart this, we're already on the contact form page. We should be able to see it. Okay, so the contact code online, this is outside the container. That's why it looks like that. So we're going to fix that and put it inside the container, and you can see in here that this is really bad. This looks bad. It's not properly styled. Okay, so we forgot to style this. So let's go back in there and do the couple of things that we need to do there. I think I said here send contact form, because I'm going to just copy it from here again. Send contact form, and this is required. All right, and then where is it? All right, so this contact scholar online, this must also be inside of the container. So all of this X in there must be inside of the container. All right, and then so we need to enter a class, so we need to style our form so that it looks much nicer. Let's see, we need to style our form control. That's the style that we use for forms. You can check with Bootstrap. This is not a Bootstrap tutorial, so I won't go into details how I know that, but if you check on the Bootstrap documentation, you will see for the form group, for the input type, there you go, input name, you need to have a class in here that says form control. Okay, form dash control. That. So I'm going to copy that class from there, and I'm going to copy in here as well. And I'm going to copy that text area as well. I'm going to give it a form control, and everything else should be fine. So we're going to copy this again. And run python app.py, and let's check what our form looks like now. It should be better styled. There you go. Okay, so you can now see, enter the full name, enter the email address, enter the message, and then now all we need to do is to that grab this information that comes from the contact form, put it into the email, and send it back to using the email package. Okay, so let's process the contact form. All right. So to process the contact form, we need to 4 times. So let's say if request.method is equals to post. All right, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that. But before I forget, let me now import the request object. I mean the request class at the top there, and request comes from Flask. So we're going to import render template, and we're going to import request as well. Okay, so let's export it there. So if the request method is equals to post, right? So if the method is post, okay, what we need to do is that we need to get the name of the person. The name is going to be the request.form.name. Okay, so if it's post, we're gonna go and have a look at the form that was sent in, and we want the name object in there. I mean the name variable inside that form, and that we're gonna assign it to a variable called name. All right. So we have the name, we have the email. All right. The email as well. I'm gonna say request.form and get the email. All right. And what I like to do with emails is just good practice. I like to then, because people will enter an email, some of them will enter like big case letters, some will enter small case letters, some will leave space at the beginning of the email, at the end of the email. So what I like to do is that I like to process this and say replace all the space objects. Okay, so if anybody had a space in there, replace it with like no space. So remove all the spaces from the email, because I'm going to be sending an email directly programmatically. If there's spaces, I'm going to get an error. And then I just like to use lower. What this does as well is that it will lower. If somebody used like a capital letter and wrote their email like in all caps, I don't want to send the email in all caps. I want it to be all lowered, and so that I'm standardizing how I do things, right? And then what I like to do as well is then the message will be request.form.message. Okay, so you got 3 things, and all of this actually let me let me call this, I don't know, let me call this result. Okay, and create a Python object. This is how you represent this, a blank Python dict object, and I want to save all of this in a dict. All right, so I want to save this in a dict for result, so I'm going to say result name, right? And then this I want to say result email, and then I want to say result message. Okay, so the only thing I'm doing here is I'm creating an empty dict object for Python, and then I'm creating a value pay, value name, pay that name, value email, pay that, value message, pay that, so that I can work with an object instead of sending the variables one by one. Then I'm going to create another function that says send contact form, and in this function I'm going to enter this result object. So I'm only sending one object, and inside this object you'll be able to find all this information inside the object. So I'm going to send this object. So I'm going to create send contact form function in there. All right, send contact form with the result, and then I'm done. And then I'm going to return I don't know, return anything you want to return. Assume everything went well. All right, I don't want to make this too complicated. So return true, and actually no, you have to return something. So let's just render the same template. Okay. So return render template. All right. And another thing you can do is that you can return redirect, but it doesn't matter. Let's just return the same template. Let's write the email object. Okay. So the message contact from Scholar website. That will be the title of the email. The sender, the recipient is the same. The message body, I will say hello. Hello there. Okay, you just received a contact form. All right. The name of the person is going to be the name of the person who sent you that contact form. The email is the email of the person who sent you that contact form, and the message that they sent you that contact form with, right? And then you're going to say regards, webmaster. I like using that, makes you sound cool. Now we have to input these variables in here, so we have to get them from that result object. Okay, so I like to just use format at the end there, and format, the first element that must go in there under the name is the result name. All right, so the result object and the name variable in there must be is the first thing. So the way this works is that it just goes according to the order that it was inputted. So the first thing that we must show is the name, the second one is the email, the next one is a message. So it will input this into the first, and according to the order that you set it here is the order that it must appear in there. So result name, result email, okay, that's how it is here as well, name, email, and then result message. So it will just get from the result object the name, the email, the message, and do it that way. If you didn't want to use an object, you could have just said name, email, message, and then you would have to put them like that in here, say name, email, message, and type it 3 times. And then when you get there, you'd have to include name, email, message, and then do it like that, name, email, message. But I think using the object just makes the code cleaner, less variables. And then, so the contact route should look like this. I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. Let's if the method is post, it will get the form of variables from in there, and then it will get this, it will send this form variables into this function that you just created now, and this function is the one at the top here. It will have the message, the body, and this message should look like this inside the contact. So we are going to just test this now. All right, so let's test this form. Okay, so we're gonna say in here Scolo, we're gonna say admin at scolo.online. We're gonna enter the message there, and we're gonna send the contact form. And then once we've done that, when we go to our Gmail, we can see our contact form. Right, this is a contact form we sent. Actually, I sent this before to test it, so I'm just sending the same messages, but I think if you go back, you'll find the new one that we just sent now. But hello there, you just received a new contact form, the name, the email address, and yeah, regards webmaster. So this is how you send an email from a Flask application. There it is, a new message. Let's just go to it. Let's show it. Okay, it's exactly the same message. I just sent the same message twice because I was testing it before off camera, and now the message just came through. It's exactly the same, and so this works. This is how you send an email from our Flask application with Python.